Today, we're diving into the tragic story of Maria Santos, a 29-year-old nurse whose life was brutally cut short. This is a case that wasn't solved with a confession. Oh no! It was pieced together, bit by bit, through a chilling digital trail and the silent, powerful testimony of forensic science.
And this is where it all begins. This single text message, sent just minutes before she disappeared forever. It's a haunting premonition, isn't it? She knew she was in danger. It's like she was leaving a final breadcrumb for anyone who would come looking for her.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of the case. Believe it or not, the entire investigation pivots on just 23 seconds of silent, grainy video from a hospital parking garage. These are the last moments anyone ever saw Maria Santos alive.
What's so incredible about this timeline is that there's no audio. You don't hear a thing, but you see everything. You see her caution turn into pure terror. You see that instinctive protective gesture she makes toward her stomach, and then you see her fight. You see her being completely overpowered and dragged into an elevator that was essentially taking her to her death.
So to really understand the why behind those 23 seconds, you've got to look at the two people involved. And this right here, this lays out the stark reality of the situation. On one side, you have Maria, a young foreign nurse whose visa, her whole life in that country, depended on her job. On the other side, Dr. Al-Mazui, the powerful, well-connected medical director. And they were both hiding a secret that put them on a collision course, her pregnancy from his affair.
All right, so enter Detective Aisha Rahman. She's the lead investigator who takes that final, chilling text message and that silent 23-second video and starts building a case against a man who, let's be honest, probably seemed completely untouchable.
And the investigation moves incredibly fast. I mean, first, she talks to the roommates. Boom, she has the text message and knows Maria was pregnant. Then she gets the CCTV footage, which proves this was a violent abduction. And then the digital trail, the elevator and keycard logs, they led directly to the most powerful man in the hospital and to a very specific place with 0 witnesses.
So what's the deal with Level 3? Well, the key to this location wasn't what it had, it was what it lacked. This one floor, the elevator's only destination from that spot, was a total blind spot in the hospital's security system. And you can bet that wasn't an accident. It was a feature the killer knew about and deliberately used.
And this is what was waiting down there on level B3. This wasn't just some storage basement. It was, for all intents and purposes, a killer's toolkit. You've got medical waste, biohazard containers, and, most terrifyingly, a heavy-duty medical incinerator. The perfect place to commit a crime and make the evidence disappear.
So, the detective has a suspect and a location, but that's not enough to go to court. Now we're going to look at how this case goes from a strong suspicion to an undeniable scientific certainty. This is where the physical proof comes in.
You know, his search history is practically a confession written before the crime ever happened. It tells a story. You can literally see his mind shifting from, how do I solve this problem, to, how do I plan the perfect murder? He was even researching how the police would investigate it a full 9 days before Maria even went missing. Chilling.
He tried to clean the crime scene. He scrubbed that floor, but you just can't beat science. The forensic teams came in, sprayed the floor with luminol, and it lit up like a Christmas tree. Maria's blood was still there. And that number, 99.97% certainty. That is as close to a definite yes as science gets. It proves she was in that room, and she bled in that room.
But wait, it gets even more damning. They didn't just find her blood. They found his blood, mixed right in with hers. This is huge. It places him at the scene, not just standing there, but as an active participant in a violent struggle where they both were injured. There's no explaining that away.
And this is how it all came together so brilliantly. It wasn't just one smoking gun. It was what the prosecution called a damning trifecta. You had the forensic evidence, the digital evidence, and the physical evidence. Each one was strong on its own, but together, they created this inescapable web of proof that pointed to only one person.
So, with this absolute mountain of evidence stacked against him, the case against Dr. Al-Mazui finally went to trial. And this is where the full, horrifying story of his calculated cruelty was laid bare for the world to see.
And look at these charges. The prosecution didn't just go for murder. They laid out the entire sequence of his actions. The premeditated planning, the deliberate tampering with evidence, the disgusting abuse of his power as medical director, and of course, that horrific final act of destroying her remains.
After weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for 11 hours. And when they came back, their decision was unanimous. It was clear, guilty, on every single charge.
The judge handed down a sentence that truly reflected the horror of this crime. It wasn't just life in prison, it was life without any chance of parole. They permanently stripped him of his medical license, erasing his professional identity, and that huge payment to Maria's family, that was the court's final formal acknowledgement of the precious life that he stole.
But, the story doesn't really end there with the verdict. The trial was over, sure, but the impact of this case was actually just beginning. Maria's death, as awful as it was, became this unexpected catalyst for real, meaningful change.
Just look at the ripple effect here. The hospital was basically forced to overhaul its policies to better protect its staff. Advocacy groups, like the new Filipino Nurses Association, were formed to give a voice to vulnerable workers. And her family? They used that compensation money to build a health clinic in her name, turning their unimaginable grief into a legacy of care for others.
And we end with this really sobering thought from Detective Ramon, the woman who solved the case. It makes you think, doesn't it? Maria sent that text. She tried to create a witness. She did everything right. But her story is just this tragic reminder that when there's a massive power imbalance, doing everything right sometimes isn't enough. It's why protecting the vulnerable isn't just a nice idea. It can literally be a matter of life and death.